options trading has created an opportunity for me to determine my future. I think it's an avenue for me to eventually sail into the sunset as an options trader.
Hello, everybody. We're back. I'm Tom Sosnoff, and we're here for another Rising Star episode. Shoot. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And great to have you here. I think you and I have crossed paths many times over the last handful of years at different live tasty events, and it's great to see you because I never know how anybody does. I think you said to me once, you're surprised how many people come to the live events, but it's good to see because then you realize you're not alone.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I was curious because when I came to that event, I thought it was just going to be a sizable number of people, but the whole place was full. I had to go upstairs to the mezzanine.
Oh, yeah. We first started a long time ago, 25 years ago. We would have events in our conference room, which was like about a third of the size of this room where we're doing right now. Yeah. And we'd put people around the conference table, and like 6 or 8 people would show up. That would come a long way in that sense. The first live show I ever did was at a university here in Chicago, a small college, and we did it in one of the classrooms, and there was about 12 people, and I think we all thought we were nuts.
How long ago was that?
24 years. Wow. Yeah. Just to give everybody a little background, so this Rising Star segment is really designed to give you some insight into retail investors, do-it-yourself investors that have along the way discovered self-directed finance, that have discovered derivatives, strategic investing, and people that do it, in conjunction with or to complement everything else that you do.
Exactly.
So on your bio, it says that you own your own business. You're a mortgage broker, and you work with your wife and I don't know how many other people. And you and I, we were talking about mortgage rates before and things like that. But how much time do you have to actually trade?
I do it right in the morning because I have to create time. I gotta create time. I think this options trading has created an opportunity for me to determine my future. And I have to put as much time as I put in my mortgage brokerage business into this because I think it's an avenue for me to eventually sail into the sunset as an options trader.
I love it. I saw there was a line I read in your bio that you wrote up for us. You said you watched almost every market measure for the past decade.
Yes, and I still do.
And you still do. So to give a little background, I think you said and I want to make sure I get this right, but I think you said you started trading stocks or traded your first kind of stock trade about 2015.
Yes.
About 9 years ago.
Yes, 9 years ago, yeah.
And you told me when you went to university, you were a finance major, but you also didn't really believe in stocks.
I did not believe in stocks, yeah, because this was around the time when the stock market had just crashed, 2008, September.
Yeah.
And the professor wanted to find out what we thought about it. And I took a stance that everybody in the class just looked at me wondering, what's wrong with this guy? What is he doing in this class? Because I stood up and said, don't believe in stocks. I'll never own some. I'll never own any. And it's a scam.
It's a scam. Yeah. My dad used to think that way. Yeah. But other than that, I think, but then you start thinking about it. And you're like, okay, well, because in 2008, they scared the children. It was kind of it was a pretty long bear market, about almost 500 days, and it was ugly. The economic meltdown was nasty. Yes. And I guess if you were in school at that time and you're looking at it, you're trying to kind of think about it in a macro sense. It probably was pretty scary.
Yes.
So, do you remember your first stock trade?
I remember my first stock trade. It wasn't the smartest because I paid $9.99 to buy, I think, 2 shares. So my cost basis went up.
Oh, you paid $9.95 in commissions.
Commission to buy 2 shares.
To buy 2 shares of stock.
Yeah, to buy 2 shares of stock. Yeah.
2 shares of what?
I was some really cheap stock, so my cost base is really skyrocketed.
So you couldn't have broken even if you wanted to.
I could not have broken even. Yeah.
I forgot about the $9.95 commissions. Yeah. For 2 shares.
2 shares. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, it kind of is a scam.
If you was
You
a
know?
scam.
Yeah. Because not much you can do there.
Yeah.
But, you know, so take me through the process. So let's first start off with 2 shares.
Yes.
So-
So I started off with 2 shares, and then a friend of mine told me you can't do this. You gotta spread your $9.95 over several shares. So you could bring your cost basis down.
Okay.
And then I met a friend. Actually, a friend of mine was showing his trades on Facebook.
Okay.
And they were weird. Like, they didn't look like stock trades. And then at that point, he told me that he was actually trading options.
Got it.
So I
Probably
went
said,
into this-
what the hell is an option?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I started learning about the strike price, the expiry date, all these different metrics that come with trading derivatives. And then I segued into trading options, but I was taking the long side.
Yeah,
So
sure.
buying calls,
That's okay.
buying puts,
Yeah.
and losing a lot of money.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Yeah.
But you were learning.
I was learning.
Yeah.
I was taking L's for lessons.
And a big part of what I always talk about with trading, and especially, you know, any kind of strategic investing is, you know, you have to, you know, there's a saying in Chicago, because this is kind of a blues city.
Yeah.
You got to suffer if you want to sing the blues.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case here. You got to suffer if you want to sing the blues a little bit.
Yeah.
So, so I'm going to fast forward to you started trading options. I learned in around 2017.
Yes.
Okay. And like you said, you started buying calls and buying puts, but
Yeah.
you're learning about making decisions, you're learning about leverage,
Yes.
you're learning about derivatives,
Yeah.
but you're not making any money.
Not making any money.
So why'd you stay with it?
Actually, I took a pause. So I took a pause so I could focus on my business at the time as a mortgage specialist before I went into becoming a mortgage broker. So I took a break from options, and then I met a friend who told me, hey, these 2 guys who banter and go at each other, and they talk about options, and they're doing it differently. So I watched one of your shows,
Oh God.
you know, and then that's when I realized, wait, you could actually take the other side of the
Yeah.
trade. And that's when the Tasty Trade Way started in September 2022.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So there's a little bit of a 5-year period in there where, you know, you're figuring things out. And listen,
Actually, during that 5-year period, I was holding mostly Canadian bank stocks.
Yeah.
So I was selling covered calls against them.
so selling covered calls, buying bank stocks, selling covered calls, which was probably a good trade.
Yeah.
It worked out. You're learning about market structure. You're learning about taking risk.
Yeah.
You're reducing your basis.
Yes.
Okay. So all the above.
Yeah.
And then in 2022, you start watching Tasty.
Started watching Tasty, and then I got into this rabbit hole, and all those market
It's like TikTok.
exactly all those market measures that you and you and Tony did
Yeah.
from way back. I just started absorbing all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I became intent on learning this and making something good out of it.
So when you started trading like Tasty style 2022, let's say, and do you mind saying how old you are?
I am 36.
36.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2022, you were 34.
34, yeah.
Okay. How big was your account size?
It was about 60 grand.
Because people always write into us after we do Rising Stars and say, well, you know, was he trading with $2,000 or $5,000 or $200,000 or whatever? So it gives some context.
Yeah, it gives you
Okay.
context, yeah.
Did your wife think you were crazy?
She thought I was crazy, but then she did believe in me. I had a track record of going into crazy things and pulling out okay.
Like what?
Going into the mortgage business was it's 100% commission. So going from a salary to 100% commission,
Yeah.
that was a crazy jump.
Okay. That is kind of crazy.
That was crazy. Yeah. And
You're just betting on yourself. It's okay.
betting on myself.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So she thought I was crazy, but she believed in me, and she just let me be.
Okay. So how'd you do in 2022?
So 2022 was a short stint. I only had, I think, a couple of months, and I was still learning. So I wasn't doing too well. I think it's not until May 2023 that things kind of clicked. That's when I realized, okay, you just have to do as many trades as you can, let the law of averages or the numbers work for you, and eventually something's going to come out of it. So I went down, and then it picked up, and then once it picked up, there was no stopping after that.
So 2023 was really your breakout year.
Yes.
Yeah, and you did it. Your return on investment was 100%.
Yes.
So you doubled your money.
Yes.
So then you got to think like, now you're cocky because now you're thinking like, I got this thing down. You're like, I'm unstoppable, right?
Exactly.
If I double my money every year, I go 60, 120, 240, 580, and then I'm up to $1 million in 4 years. And I got this, right?
Exactly.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
I have to warn you that that's not exactly the way this works, but
And it didn't work that way.
there's always a rude awakening.
Yeah.
How many trades do you think you made in 2023?
I used to do at least 5 trades a day.
5 trades a day is pretty close to, let's call it on average, that averages out to about between 13 and 1,500 trades a year.
Yeah.
And, that's a significant amount. It's more than the average tasty trader. It's a little bit, it's a little less than stuff that we do, but whatever. I'm sure you didn't think before that you're going to be making, when you paid $9.95 to trade 2 shares of stock in 2015, you didn't say, wow, in 7 years from now I'm going to be trading 1,500 times.
No, did not. No.
I think one of the most valuable takeaways from, and one of the most empowering things about making 1,500 trades is that you all of a sudden, you feel like, you don't feel like the markets own you anymore.
Yes.
Like you feel like you're responsible for your own outcome.
Yes.
Right? It's not like you don't blame,
No.
you
don't.
blaming anybody else, or there's no manipulation. It's not rigged.
Yeah.
This is just, either, sometimes stocks win. Hopefully I win.
Yeah.
But at least at that point, you start to recognize this is what market structure is all about. This is what, this is
self-determination.
Yeah. I'm a big freak about controlling what you can control, which is obviously order entry.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend with managing the positions that you have on?
If it's a defined risk position, I usually don't spend much time managing it. If it's a naked position, then I'll manage it. The time that I spend,
How much of your positions are defined risk versus naked?
I would say 50-50.
50-50.
50-50.
Okay. Before we get into specific strategies and stuff like this, have you been very mechanical about managing early?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I manage at 21 days. I try not to get tested.
Yeah.
I'll move my wings. I'll move my strikes away if I notice that I'm getting tested. I will roll. I do roll. I realize that when you roll, you actually take a loss. But then in most times when I rolled, I've recovered what I lost essentially in the initial closing.
Do you prefer any specific sector or indexes, ETF sectors, or do you basically just rely on volatility?
I rely solely on volatility.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear
Mean
that.
reverting. Yeah.
So you're indifferent.
I'm indifferent. I could care less what the stock does.
Yeah. I like that. Good. I feel like you're following the mechanics way better than most of our other, rising stars. So
It's a market measures.
I love that.
Yeah.
So after 2023, 2024 has been a little. Whenever you go straight up, it's a little more difficult.
Yeah.
And 2024 has been kind of a straight up move. So this year you're up money, but just less.
Yes. I'm up in 2024. It was a huge lesson when that crazy Monday morning happened
On August 5th.
on August 5th. It was a huge lesson for me. I realized that I've been overextending myself. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any dry powder on the side to use, and I ended up in a couple margin calls.
Okay.
So I had to write up a trading plan. I purposely actually sat down and I wrote a trading plan that has 3 key metrics. So 50% buying power unused.
That's
at
good.
any given time.
Yeah.
50% cash.
Okay.
At any given time. And then the only thing is I don't trade as often as I would want to, even though I could see the buying power is there, but I'm trying not to use it. Yeah. But there's more capital that I'll be putting in the account that's going to help.
Good. I mean, listen, every once in a while, you need an event that scares you straight.
That did.
And that was, when you think about that in historical context, I know it was one of the top 10 moves of whatever the last 2 decades, but the reality is it wasn't very it was very short lived.
Yes.
I mean, it was literally one day. The next day we exploded.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like something that had a lot of follow through, and that
Yeah.
it could have been a lot worse. This is, I guess, my point. When we talk about specific strategies, is there certain strategies you like more than others?
Yes. So I love the broken wing butterfly. Yeah.
You don't care which side.
I don't care which side. Yeah. I'll do it on the call side. I'll do it on the put side.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. And then I love strangles.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing short strangles. I'll do spreads on both sides, on the call side.
You mean like short verticals?
Short vertical spreads, yeah.
Do you sell a lot of naked puts?
Yes, I love selling naked puts. That's how I started, actually. That was the first market manager that I watched.
Selling naked puts.
Selling naked puts. It works. It's tried, true, and tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably don't do a lot of covered calls anymore, but,
No,
I'm guessing
no,
because it's just too capital intensive.
Exactly. And I also find that my cover calls don't do too well.
It's just not efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say efficient. It's just not. It's too capital inefficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you kind of look into the future right now, you're going to be, you're trapped. You're going to be doing this for the rest of your life.
I know.
Yeah.
Look what you did to me, Tom.
I know. You're not getting away. Like, you can't get away. You just, because you're always going to think, because there is always going to be opportunity.
Yeah.
There's always going to be risk. There's always going to be opportunity. How do you think about this, like, with all the other risks that you have running your own business? Because as an independent, mortgage broker, I mean, you have to go get your own customers. You have to make deals. You have to refinance places. You have to, you have to. The real estate market has to stay busy.
Yeah.
You have a lot of risk in that business.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And so, how do you think about this, like, kind of big picture?
Yeah. The interesting thing is I love what I do. So I love both aspects of what I do, being like helping clients find financing to buy homes, and I also love trading options. So it's a nice balance between the two, but eventually I'm hoping that when I'm on an island somewhere, I could still trade options and not have to worry about picking up the phone to deal with to do real estate deals. So this is like my sail to the sunset type of plan. No.
I like the optimism there. I don't think you're ever. I always used to say the same thing, but I'm going to be here till I die, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking about in your business is that one of the things that I like to trade a lot of is bonds, and I would think that most people that are in like the banking business and mortgage businesses and anything to do with like large financial services really don't understand some of the intricacies and nuanced know-how of how bond market really works.
Yeah.
And I would have to think that your ability to trade derivatives on like bond futures, bond options, notes, any ETFs like TLT and all that kind of stuff, really gives you a very different, unique perspective that will allow you to articulate like some of the interest rate risk very differently than some other mortgage broker. I would think that's a huge advantage.
You're very right. And I check the bond yield every morning. I monitor it every day. I see what the TLT is doing.
Yeah.
And anytime there's an announcement, I always rush to see how the bond market is reacting.
Does that help in your conversations with customers that you can actually explain?
It definitely does. And I'll give you an example. So you have clients who try to get the lowest rate possible.
Sure.
And most financial institutions will give you a lower rate if the bond yield has dropped.
Sure.
So I have to explain to the client, at this point, we're not getting a lower rate because look at how the bond market is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was once doing, we were buying a building for work, and we were negotiating with the bank, and I remember I had traded bonds all morning. And I'm in there talking to the person who was handling the mortgage side for commercial lending. And they were trying to explain to me how interest rates work. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you've never traded a bond in your entire life. Yeah. And I think I traded like 200 of them this morning. Yeah. Okay. I go, don't explain it to me. I know how this works. And they're like, okay, well, most people don't understand it. I go, I understand this. Okay. give me the numbers. Like, you don't have to try to explain this to me, because how you're explaining it is not how this works. And I would just have to think that, like, for you, it's got to make you seem like you're just another level above. And being able to explain, how markets are actually efficient in that regard, and they basically move. I mean, mortgage rates move tick for tick with.
They do.
Yeah. There's nothing else to it.
By the second, yeah.
It's not rocket science. I mean, they move literally tick for tick. So, not that I want you to start hedging interest rates, and offer that as part of your plan, and here's a $500,000 house. We're gonna hedge your interest rate risk. Don't do that.
No.
You'll drive people crazy. So, what's the game plan going forward in 2024? Like, how do you get better now? And like, what about 2025? Like what's the,
I think my game plan is to get as many people as possible into this, because this is the way out. And I've been what's considered a lonely options trader for the longest time, because you have your wins, you have no one to share it with, you've got your losses, you've got no one to.
You're here.
I can cry about all my losses today before I leave. So my game plan is to get as many people as possible into this. Hopefully, eventually get my kids trading options as well.
How old's your oldest?
My oldest is 8.
Boy or girl?
Yeah, it's a girl.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have hope with the girl. With boys, you have no hope at 8.
Oh, yeah.
Girls, you have a chance.
And I mean, tastylive is always playing on my TV the whole day.
They probably think you're crazy.
They think I'm crazy. Yeah.
Dad, this is the worst. Dad, this is the worst show ever. Can you put something good on? Yeah. I can imagine. So ultimately, building communities is obviously tough of other traders and things like that. But I do see more widespread adoption. Do you see that?
Slowly by slowly. The ones who discover it, they take it and they fly with it. Yeah. And then hopefully they become really big fans and they'll get full into it. Yeah. I have a friend of mine who got into it less than 6 months ago, and he's reading charts, and his name is Sam. He's crazy about options. He lives, breathes, like everything he does is just options trading.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So the adoption is there, and it's eventually, we hope the finance space takes on this other side where you just self-determine your, active investing is what I'm.
Like I said before, it's really important in life to control whatever you know. The more stuff you can control about your own decisions is the best thing that can happen to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And this options trading has helped me with my decision making as well, because you have to make decisions quick.
It has to help. It can only make the way you process everything in your brain so much faster.
Yeah.
It's got to be a huge win for you.
Yeah.
Dennis, thanks so much. This was great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dennis is our rising star. I'm Tom Sosnoff, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much.